Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you how these are scored by College Board. I'm going to spend, I'm hoping 20 minutes on this class. I'm going to go fast. So have a grading utensil next to you, like something, I don't know. We can just do it in the margin, a different color or something. Okay. Number one, section one is essentially correct if you have the following three things. You need to say somewhere that is a two sample Z test for P1 minus P2. You need to say correct null hypothesis of equal proportions. That means P1 minus P2 equals 0. And a correct two-sided alternative hypothesis of unequal proportions. That means P1 minus P2 does not equal 0. And you need to reference the two age groups. So P1 is 18 to 55 years of age, and P2 is 56 years of age or older, and the population is all exercise center members. Okay, if you have all three of those things, put a little E next to, like in the margin of your problem. If you have just two of those three things, put a P. And if you only have one of those things, put an I. Okay, so if you have not graded AP style before, I would be like, okay, I've got my two hypotheses are correct. I've got my two contexts are correct. And I said two sample Z test for P1 minus P2. And over here on the side, I would put a little E. Are you with me? Okay. Next section. Not next problem, next section. You get an E if you have the following four components. Check the independence condition by saying it's random and 10 times 170 equals 1,700 exercise members from 18 to 55. 10 times 230 is 2,300 exercise members age 56 and older. You don't have to say, I mean, you can say is 10% of, that's the same thing. Okay, number two, check that the sample sizes are large enough by verifying that 55.25, 114.75, 74.75, and 155.25 are all greater than or equal to 10. Correctly reports the value of the Z statistic. I got negative 0.918. You might have something different from rounding. And then correctly reports the p-value, which is 0.3586. You might have something different from rounding. Okay, I have all four of those things, so I'm going to put E. Yes, that's the same thing. If you only did two or three of those things, you get an P for partially. And if you did one or zero of those things, you get an I. Okay, last section in number one. Oh, right here, Jake. This is what we do in our class. So this is one of the things that's allowed. Just wanted you to see it, that I wasn't making stuff up. Okay. All right, last section for this problem provides the correct comparison of the p-value to alpha. So you're supposed to say your p-value is greater than alpha and provide a correct decision about the null and all or alternative hypothesis. So our p-value is greater than alpha, we fail to reject. That's what that's saying. States a conclusion in context consistent with and in terms of the alternative hypothesis using non-definitive language. Okay, so that means that you're failing to reject and you're writing your conclusion. You do not have convincing evidence of the ha, which we always do. And when it says non-definitive language, that just means that you're not saying that you accept anything. You're just saying you fail to reject. Okay, you get a P if you have only one or two of those things. And then you have an I if you don't have anything there. Okay, this is when I want you to note the very separate grading of the conclusion. So I said this yesterday. This was my pro tip. You see how the conclusion is graded completely separately from the do step. That means that if you forget how to do the do step completely, you're just gonna guess a p-value, compare it to alpha, and write the conclusion statement. You can still get a 3 out of 4 and get none of the math right. I'm just showing you. Okay, so this is how you're gonna score this problem. If you got 3 E's, you get a 4. If you got 2 E's and a P, you get a 3. Everything else besides 1 E and no P's is a 1, and no E's and 2 P's is a 1, and everything else in the middle is a 2. Any questions about what you got? Okay, moving on. Number 2. A. For section A, you get an E if you have a correct-ish elementary school graph and a correct-ish middle school graph. They don't have to be perfect. If you only have one of the two, it's a P, and neither of the two is an I. Any questions about that? Are you guys keeping track and putting the E's, P's, and I's on? Okay, just checking. Okay, next part. You need to say that the elementary school administrator is incorrect. You can say no for that, just like no. You just need to make an actual decision. Provides correct mathematical support verifying the middle school sold more bottles than elementary school. So you need to say something about how the middle school sold like 3 times as many as the elementary school. And then you need to include context, something about bottles. If you have all 3 of those things, that's an E. 2 is a P. Anything less is an I. Oh, just so you know, down here it says you're supposed to say the words elementary, middle, and bottles somewhere in the middle or somewhere in there for context. Okay, last part for number 2. 4 components. Number in letter I, high school A sold a greater proportion. And you can say something about the height of the rectangles or the relative frequencies representing the large bottles. So for me, I actually quoted it. I said 0.7 is greater than 0.6. Or you could say the height of the rectangle is taller than the height of the other rectangle. Okay. In part C2, high school B sold a greater number of large bottles. And then you need to say high school B's area is larger than high school A's area. If you did all 4 of those, that's an E. 2 or 3 of those is a P. 1 or 0 of those is an I. Can you guys please stop? This is serious. We have no time left. I can't. Okay, 3 parts essentially correct is a 4. 2 parts essentially correct and 1 part partially correct is a 3. Same dealio. Score yourself, please. Okay, number 3. You need to say it's observational for the first section or for A. You need to provide a justification based on no treatment being imposed. Or you could say no random assignment. Those are your two options. You can say treatments are not imposed or no random assignment. And then including some kind of context. So saying something about car models or drivers or cars or owners or members. All three of those things is an E, two is a P, one or zero is an I. Okay, next section. Three components creates appropriate labels for the units. That is like numbering the days from 1 to 70 or 1 to 70 slips of paper or something like that. Something about naming, numbering 1 to 70, something like that. Describes how to correctly implement the random process so that every possible random assignment is equally likely. So here's two options. Generate 35 unique integers from 1 to 70, assign the days with 35 for autopilot and the other 35 without autopilot, or 70 equally sized slips of paper, 35 with autopilot, 35 without, mix in a bag, select a slip of paper without replacement, something. And then saying that the 35 that you choose gets autopilot and the other 35 do not have autopilot or something like that. I usually just put these in 3 bullet points. Numbering, process, and then assigning.
You can do that.
What?
You can do that in bullet.
Yeah, I did it in bullet points. Actually, I didn't do bullet points. I did it in like 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. 3 components. You need to say something about random sampling. I think that sampling from the population of interest, more cars must be sampled. I didn't really say more cars must be sampled. I guess I did, because I said the word add. You would need to add random sampling of model cars in the club to be able to generate. Huh. That's why we do this. Um, you might say something like he needs to start over, or he needs to do his investigation again. He needs to, I don't know. Does anyone want me to hear what they wrote and see what I think? Yes. I mean, that would be a census. Because then you would generalize, you could definitely generalize to all members of the club if you asked all the members of the club.
No, a random sample from all of
So what did you say? Did you say anything about he would have to do something additional? Just read me what you said.
anybody can random sample from all models.
I mean, I think that's fine. Isn't that exactly what this says? I feel like that's the same thing. I think they would give you an E for that. Okay, same grading style. 3 E's is a, no, yeah, 3 E's is a 4. Okay. Moving on to number 4. Okay. So part A1 correctly calculates the mean, provides supporting work for the mean, correctly calculates the standard deviation, provides supporting work for the standard deviation. So you have work, mean, work, standard deviation. All 4 of those things is an E. 2 or 3 of the 4 is a, oh no, you only need 3 of those to get an E. Ooh. Maybe somebody out there can do 1 over 0.08 in their head. I cannot. Okay. Part 2. Okay, part B1 correctly calculates the probability of 3 geodes, which was 0.067. They did it with they did what Jake did, which is failure, failure, success. And then provides some kind of supporting work for the calculation. I just want to let you know that this is acceptable right here. This is probably what you put. This is what I put. Just make sure, do you guys see the labels? Okay. Correctly calculates the probability of 4 and then supporting work for 4. And I did not do this. I did this. I just did 1 minus the other things in the table. And you only need 3 of those to get an E, apparently. Look at the College Board being flexible. Okay. Okay, part C, correct mean shows appropriate work. So top times the bottom plus top times the bottom plus top times the bottom plus top times the bottom. Interpretation. It needs to include a long period of time. I said many, many trials in mine. Say something about an average. And then say something about the number of geodes opened. So saying until a red geode is found or the 4th is opened. So to get an E in this one, you have to have 1 and 2, and then you have to have 2 of these 3. Okay, same deal here. Okay, number 5. We're almost there. Provides the correct probability, shows work for the correct probability. Oh, that's easy to grade. I like that one. Is this going to be the same? It is. Provides the correct probability, shows work for the correct probability. By the way, on this one, I just wanted you to know that if you just say 80 over 91 and then put the decimal, that satisfies both components 1 and 2. Because 80 over 91 shows that you limited yourself down to the table. That's what I did. And then I got confused about how I would show my work, but then it said I didn't have to, so I was happy. Okay, next one. Identifies chi-square test of independence or association. Okay, uh, null hypothesis, there is not an association with context. And there is an association with context. Oh, the context is actually part 3. So you need all 3 of those for an E. 2 or 3 of those of a P. Okay, now it says here, if the response identifies a chi-square test for homogeneity in part C1 by name and formula, and parts 2 and 3 are consistent with chi-square test for homogeneity, you can get a P. They won't double mark you wrong. And also, I just want to let you know, if you just wrote association, that also works. It doesn't have to say independence association. It can just be association. It says it right here. So you think that I'm not making stuff up. I'm really not, I promise you. Okay. Provides correct comparison of the p-value to alpha. P-value is less than alpha. And provides a correct decision about the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. States a conclusion in context in terms of the alternative hypothesis. You guys, the way that you've learned it is exactly what they want. So, okay. Also, take a look at their answer right here. It says because the p-value of 0.0075 is less than any reasonable alpha level, such as 0.05 or 0.10. So that's how they worded it for their answer, just when there wasn't one given. Okay, now this is different. There were 4 sections. So each E counts as 1 point and each P is a half point. Oh, and this is fun. Have you guys ever read this before? If a response is between 2 scores, for example, 2.5 points, use a holistic approach to decide whether to score up or down depending on the strength of the response and quality of the communication. So if they get to the person and they give you like a 3.5, it's the person up to the person whether or not you round up or down. I hate that. I really hate it a lot. As a math teacher, I really don't like that. Okay, last one. Okay, one sample T interval for me. Identifies the correct parameter by including reference to the mean. And they said the mean whistle price in dollars of this type of whistle in all stores. Oh, I guess that's all. Okay. Okay. Reference to the all stores that, okay. I guess this part's the context. I guess this is just mu equals the mean, and then this is the context. This is why I just don't want to be an AP grader. I just don't want to do it. Apparently you have to live in like this hotel in the middle of like Iowa and be in the basement for like a week grading tests under like fluorescent lights. It just sounds like my worst nightmare. Anyway, moving on. Okay, for the next part, you can either say it's right skewed or roughly symmetric. And then you're supposed to say that the mean is higher than the median, so it's right skewed. And then you're supposed to show that there's no outliers by correctly calculating the boundaries. I got 3.0625 and 6.9225. Oh, so the part 3 is the work and part 4 is saying that there's no outliers. Okay. This one correctly calculates Pearson's coefficient with the work. I got 0.949 or 0.95. And then correctly graphs the coordinate, which is right about right there. Okay, and then last thing, there's 5 components. It's going to say that the sample is strongly skewed because of the graph, because of where that X is located. Um, oh, I see. So part 1 is just saying that it's strongly skewed. Part 2 is either saying because of the Pearson coefficient or the skewness or the graph. Part 3 is saying normality is not met. Part 4 is the sample size of 20 is less than 30. And part 5, it says strongly skewed. How many parts did this one have? 4? Okay, so this is your last bit here. Okay, now what I need you to do is take your MCQ, come over here, turn in your MCQ right here, pick up a new one right there.